Today marks 1 year that my baby's heartbeat stopped beating. Trisomy 18 was her diagnosis. Coincidentally, March is Trisomy Awareness Month. So I'm making this video in her honor and also to spread awareness. Prior to the diagnosis, I had never heard the words Trisomy 18 before. Everything was going well in my pregnancy all the way up to her anatomy scan. Now, I don't know if every OB's clinic is like the one that I went to, but the clinic that I went to performs the anatomy scan and then you leave. And you're called back 2 weeks later to go over the results. So I didn't really know anything until 2 weeks after my anatomy scan. So that day, the technician did the ultrasound. And because I was going to plan a gender reveal, I asked the technician to put the gender in an envelope. Then my sister could do a little surprise gender reveal for us. So that weekend, I remember it was Martin Luther King weekend. I did a gender reveal with my close friends and it was a little girl. Now, one thing I want to mention about my pregnancy is that it was not planned. It's definitely a surprise pregnancy. As you guys know, if you've been following my journey, you guys know that I have twin boys. And one of my boys battled leukemia for over 2 years. So I was thinking I was done having kids. After a cancer diagnosis, you get a little bit traumatized. And so I was thinking I was done. Even though in my heart, I've always wanted to be a girl mom. So my pregnancy came and it was unexpected. Like I said, she was a surprise. One interesting thing I want to mention is that my son who battled cancer, every night he would pray. He would pray for a baby sister. He prayed with fidelity for over 6 months. So this day I say that he prayed her into existence, because she was definitely a surprise. So anyhow, Sir did a whole gender reveal for us. It was a little girl. We were over the moon. We were so excited to welcome our precious little girl. And so I went for my anatomy scan results 2 weeks after my gender reveal. And that's when they informed me that all of her little organs were good. Her liver, her heart, everything was fine. So the only thing they saw that was a little off was that she had fluid-like cysts in her brain called choroid plexus cysts. They did inform me that these cysts can be found in normal pregnancies and that sometimes they disappear after week 28. They asked me if I had gotten my NIPT test already, and I had told them no, because they didn't offer it in my town, in my hometown. So I'd had to go out of town. And so I had been, pushing it off. And she said, well, we strongly suggest that you take that screening. And so immediately after I left the office, I went and got blood work done. And so I went home. Obviously, during that time, I was just Googling and searching and asking ChatGPT all kinds of different things. I wanted to see what all is tested for on the NIPT screening. And so all these trisomy names came up as I was searching. And I don't know if you guys are familiar with all the trisomies and are familiar with all these genetic abnormalities, but basically what it is normal babies have 46 chromosomes in their cells. You get 23 from your mom and you get 23 from your dad. So they come in sets of 2. We have, chromosome 1, chromosome 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, etc., etc. So if there is an abnormality, like when the cells are dividing in the first couple of days of division, when the embryo hasn't even implanted in your uterus, it's anywhere between day 2 to day 5. It's going through like meiosis, or I don't even know these scientific names of like the division of the cells. But anyhow, when the cells are dividing inside the egg to make an embryo, something happens, and instead of the embryo getting 2 sets of chromosomes, they get 3. That's why March is Trisomy Awareness Month, because it's the 3rd month of the year. It could be any of the 23 chromosomes that gets an extra one. So I'm sure you guys are familiar with Down syndrome. That is trisomy 21, which means chromosome 21 got an extra set of chromosome. Saw the list of trisomies on the screening app. I was praying and asking God that if it was destined for my baby to have any genetic abnormality, to please let it be trisomy 21. Children with Down syndrome can live a pretty normal life. And the more and more that I researched, I, came across these other abnormalities, trisomy 18, trisomy 13. And when I read that babies with those abnormalities are incompatible with life, my heart just sank. I didn't want to think negative. I didn't want to think my baby had any of those abnormalities. I held on to faith until I received my results. I would check the app nonstop, not knowing that I would be receiving a call from my OB's office before the results appeared on the app. So about 10 to 12 days after I did my blood test, I'm in the middle of teaching. It was about 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and I receive a call. And the first words that came out of her mouth were, "Is this a good time to talk?" When I heard those words, my heart sunk because it didn't sound promising. So I asked my colleague to take over. I walk outside, and she tells me, "I'm sorry to inform you, but we received the results and they came back high risk for trisomy 18. As you guys can imagine how I felt, I couldn't believe it. I had already done my research, like I told you guys. By this time, I had already informed myself. I had already prepared myself for anything. But still, that doesn't take away the fact that your whole world just breaks and shatters in that moment. So I asked her, I said, is this a for sure thing? Is this a confirmed diagnosis? Or, what are the next steps? I cannot believe this. This is what I was praying for it not to be. Are you sure this is accurate? And then she tells me that the only way to know for sure is if I go get an amniocentesis. That test will tell me for sure if indeed my baby had trisomy 18, and if she had full trisomy 18, or if she had what's called mosaic trisomy 18 or partial trisomy 18. So there's 3 different kinds. Full trisomy 18 means that all of her cells in her body would have had the extra copy of the 18th chromosome. If it was partial trisomy 18, it meant that part of her cells, or not all of her cells, had the extra chromosome, but that part of the cells did. And then mosaic trisomy 18 means that only half of the 18th chromosome was in all of her cells. Obviously, those 3 different types of trisomy have a different prognosis. And so they referred me to a high-risk doctor. And once again, it was a waiting game. I had to wait for my appointment. And during those days, I didn't know what to do. I didn't know if I should get the amnio or not, because a lot of people were saying that it could cause me to go into preterm labor and all kinds of horror stories. I didn't know if I wanted to know or if I didn't want to know. Part of me wanted just to hold on to faith and just wait it out. Like I said, I didn't know what to even do. So I went to my appointment and I agreed to the amnio, and I left it in God's hands. And once again, I left the office and had to wait about 10 to 14 days to get back the results. And by this time, we're already the end of February. What the high-risk doctor did see, though, on the ultrasound was that she had her clenched fists. She wouldn't open her little hands the entire time. He did tell me that he could see that there was stress already happening in her body. because there was way too much fluid in my placenta, which means she wasn't like a normal baby, opens their mouth and they swallow fluid and whatnot. She wasn't swallowing any fluid. They noticed that the blood flow on the umbilical cord was not normal. It was starting to go reverse. He talked about, a prognosis like this, and he explained to me, which I had already researched, like I said, but he explained to me that babies with trisomy 18 have a lot of issues, and sometimes those issues do not appear on the ultrasound. Sometimes you don't really know all the issues that your baby has until they're born. He said that only 10% of those babies make it past their first birthday. A lot of them pass away within the womb. Some of them pass away at childbirth, hours after, a few weeks after, a few months after. There's no telling. But he did tell me that for the most part, they do not live normal lives. A lot of the times they have to have heart surgery. Sometimes the babies forget to breathe, so they have to have some sort of aid to help them breathe. Our normal brains tell our body to do all these things naturally, and their brains do not inform them to do these things. So about a week after I left the doctor's office, it was confirmed that my baby had full trisomy 18. And I spoke to a genetic counselor. She explained to me that nothing that I did caused her to have this. I couldn't have prevented this. This can happen to anyone, that this happens, like I told you, when the cells are dividing. She explained to me that if the woman is over 35, there's a little bit of a higher chance where this can happen. So this was a year ago. I am literally reliving all of this here through this video as I'm explaining it all to you. My baby's heart stopped beating on March 18th, which is Trisomy 18 Awareness Day. I was induced into labor, and I met her and said goodbye to her on March 19th, 2025. My sweet little princess, my miracle princess, Everly Celeste. This video is made in her honor. It's meant to spread awareness. I am going to do something special today. My boys and I are going to plant something in her honor. We're going to cut a little cake for her first birthday. We are going to let out some biodegradable balloons, and we're going to light a candle for her. I don't really know why God did this to us. I don't really understand why. If I had already gone through a cancer diagnosis with my boy, why I had to go through this with my baby girl, especially if she was not planned, especially if my boy had wished her into existence. I will never understand. And I keep telling people that I feel like even if I have God in front of me one day and he explains to me, it's going to be really hard for me to understand. But I know she had a purpose. She made me a girl mom, and she came into our lives to change us, and she is now forever our guardian angel, and I know one day I will see her once again. Thank you all who stayed throughout this whole video. Thank you for your constant prayers, your support, all the comments you left me, and the videos I've posted about her. And I want you to know that I appreciate every single one of them. Thank you.